Welcome friends to another r/malicious compliance video. Today we've got some great stories of compliance, and our first story of the day is from Gavila438. So your vehicles hold their value? We'll see about that. Back in 2015, I had a 2011 Dodge Caliber that was beginning to give me issues. After some research, I found out the fuse box in the engine compartment was slowly malfunctioning and causing my car to act weird after about an hour of driving. I was on the market looking for a new car, as I basically deemed it time to get something more suited for my everyday needs. Not long after, I found the car that I was looking for, which was a Kia Sorento. I rented it when the girlfriend and I went on a trip to Seattle, and immediately I was thrown away at how much space was inside the Sorento, and that it had a 4-cylinder turbocharged engine. I looked at my girlfriend and said, first thing I'm doing once we're back home is to go to Kia and get the Sorento. So once I get back home, I reach out to a family friend who's the finance manager for several dealerships, hoping he would have a contact at a Kia. My brother then calls me and says he wants to come with me to go check out Jeeps. I told him I'm not interested, but he insisted, you'll be happier with a Jeep. I also want to go see if I can consolidate my cars. To indulge my brother's request, I agree, and he meets me at Mancari Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, now known as Berman, so maybe under new management since this incident. In any case, the closest vehicle they had on the lot that would even come close to the Kia Sorento was a Jeep Grand Cherokee. As I'm perusing the lot, my brother shows up with my sister-in-law, my brother driving in on a 2014 Jeep Grand Cherokee, and my sister-in-law in a 2012 Kia Forte. Both of their cars seem to be in immaculate condition, and both with less than 20,000 miles. We walk in and I get taken away by one of the sales reps, while another sales rep talks to my brother and sister-in-law. I begin to tell the sales rep that I want to trade my car in for the Grand Cherokee and go on to say that I'm trying to keep the bill under $1,000 a month. That means I want to even get a base model as long as it has towing capabilities. I found the exact one I wanted for $45,000, which would later come up to $53,000 after taxes and fees. We go back to his office to run numbers, and the sales rep comes back to me asking if I'm willing to put another $5,000 down. At this point, I was confused. I've always prided myself in having great credit and have had a very long history of always taking care of my credit. I also had explained that I was already putting $5,000 down. Why do they need another $5,000? After I say no, the guy walks away and talks to what appears to be the sales manager. After some back and forth, the sales guy comes back with the manager in tow. The sales rep sits down and the manager says, listen, these are Jeeps you are looking into. I won't lie to you, if you don't put another $5,000 down, you're looking at monthly bills of $1,200. That confused the heck out of me, as I realized that the bill I'd pay after 60 months would be in the ballpark of $72,000. So I said, I need to see the numbers you're crunching, because this definitely does not add up. How does the bill that after everything is said and done at $53,000 suddenly equate to $72,000? The sales rep looks at the manager, and the manager just looks back at the rep, just to then say, listen, they're Jeeps, they retain their value. If you can't afford it, then we can't help you. So I cut my losses and begin heading out, when I remembered my brother was there with a Jeep looking to trade it in. So cue my malicious compliance. I quickly beeline straight to the office my brother and sister-in-law are in, just at the right time. They had just received the appraisal reports for both vehicles, but I was mostly interested in the Jeep Grand Cherokee. As I walk in, the sales rep working with them stops and asks what I'm doing, and I say, don't worry, I'm with them. That's my brother and sister-in-law. So the guy doesn't mind, and just as he's about to give and discuss the report, the sales manager walks in and says, if you guys aren't going to buy a car today, please leave. I look at him and say, what's wrong? I just came over here to wait for my brother to hopefully trade in his vehicles to consolidate his vehicles. I believe your sales rep just needs to discuss the appraisal report. The manager then says, he doesn't have to discuss that in front of you. I then looked at my brother and said, do you give me consent to be here while the report is read? And my brother immediately said, yes, that's fine. At that point, the sales manager basically grabbed the reports and tore them up and said, we will not be doing business with you. Leave now. Immediately after that, I called my buddy again, asked him if he worked with a specific Kia dealership I had in mind, and within 1 hour had traded my Dodge Caliber for the Kia Sorento I wanted. At that moment, my brother and sister-in-law saw the Sorento and both agreed that it was significantly more spacious than the Grand Cherokee. Oh, and to add insult to injury, my family friend was actually able to pull the report of the appraisal. The 2014 Grand Cherokee was purchased at $37,000, and in 1 year, with 15,000 miles, had dropped in value to $18,000. No accidents, no mechanical problems, no issues with the body, just suddenly depreciated. So much for holding their value. Now, I don't know if there's somebody that you could report this to, some kind of overseeing Jeep company HR, maybe even the CEO if you have to, and explain just how hard they were trying to scam you by marking you up almost $20,000 extra dollars, and then immediately trying to backtrack and cut everything off as soon as you realized it and called them out. Also, I just gotta say, if I wasn't any wiser, I would say this is like a advertisement hit piece for a Kia Sorento. All I know is if I had an experience like OP had here, anytime I could, I would tell anybody about my experience at this company. They tried to upcharge me $20,000 and then immediately pulled the plug when I called them out on it. Leave reviews, I would tell anybody that's remotely interested in getting a vehicle. I just say it for fun as an anecdotal story because it's so ridiculous. Would it be worth trying to contact some even higher up at Jeep about a situation like this? Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Our next story is from Xenon Zosnek. They made me an offer too great to fulfill. I see car dealership stories are all the rage recently, so let me share mine. It was around 2009 when there was a scrappage scheme in Scotland. You could get £2,000 if you scrapped your old banger towards a new car. I decided to go for it, but being a student, I could only afford a small car, so I was browsing the market. At that time, new Twingo arrived, so I went to a Renault dealership near me to take a look and check if I could fit into it. I'm a big guy. The dealership happened to be Arnold Clark, known for their very pushy sales techniques. So here I am trying to look at Twingo, but there was a small crowd of people around it. While first generation Twingo was popular in Europe, it wasn't available in right-hand drive. So the second generation was brand new for Britons. I decided to walk around and look what else they have on offer. I was looking at Renault Clio when a salesperson approached me. He asked if I liked the car. I gave a polite, non-committing answer as it was the cheapest version possible. No radio, wind-up mirrors, black bumpers, white paint, you know it. He said to me, "This car's worth £13,000, but today I can have it for only $4,000 less. Moreover, they'll offer me special insurance, so if my car is written off or stolen in the first year, I'll get its full value from the moment of purchase back in cash." He offered to discuss that with me over a coffee, so since the crowd for the Twingo was still big, I said, "Why not?" He sat me down at the table, made me a really nice latte, and went to bring me some leaflets. Meanwhile, one of his colleagues approached me to tell me in secret that he should not tell me that as they're on commission, but this is too great of a deal to miss. Yes, they really are that predictable. Finally, the first guy came, and it turned out that he not only brought leaflets, but also brought contracts and other documents ready to sign. I took a sip of my coffee and told him I need to give him a good read. I started from that insurance documents. It said indeed that if I crash the car, or if it gets stolen within a year of purchase, I will get its full value at the moment of purchase in cash. Its full value, that is £9,000. So I stopped reading and I asked the guy, "You said you can sell me this car for $4,000 less than it's worth today, right?" He said yes. I said, "Great. This insurance document values the car at $9,000. If I can have it for $5,000, I'm paying cash now, and I'm happy to drive off in 15 minutes. Where do I sign?" I started browsing the paperwork for that other document, but he snapped them out of my hand and told me he needed to check something, then disappeared into the staff-only doors. I sat there. The other guy came back to ask if he can be of any help. I told him the other guy went somewhere with my contract I wanted to sign and never came back. He told me he'll look for me and that I'm to wait and make sure I'm comfortable. They'll be back right away. He disappeared as well. I finished my coffee, tried the Twingo. It was not comfortable. Tried the new Renault Master because I liked vans and left. The rest of the staff was giving me the wide berth, so it was fun, but finally I got bored. I ended up with Daihatsu, purchased from an independent dealer, which I love and I drive it all those years till today. Actually, there's a little side story with the Daihatsu as well. Arnold Clark didn't have Daihatsu dealerships, so there were only independent dealers in Glasgow. I went to the first one, and while I was taking a look, I overheard a sales guy talking to each other about bloody Polish people wasting their time, while Poles don't have money for brand new cars anyways. This was the time when Polish migration to the UK was still a relatively new thing. On hearing that, I just got up and left. Didn't look back. Got my car from another dealer on the opposite end of the city. When I picked it up, I drove by the first dealer and drove slowly by while blasting Polish music from my stereo. These people make it really easy to not want to support their business, when you can tell they're trying to very blatantly orchestrate some kind of swindling, try to get you real comfy, have some side guy come up and say, "Man, I'm surprised they're telling you about this deal, they're never supposed to do that." Oh really now, so who did they create those deals for? Acting like people are walking around still in diapers. And our final story of the day is from abbreviations FAR3217. Wanna talk to my mom? Okay. Background, I recently turned 15 and I was able to drive my golf cart by myself. I've had Turner syndrome since birth, which is a genetic mutation of the X chromosome that affects my hearing and height. I go to a good lottery high school. I had to win a lottery to get into the school in my state and is known for being a highly academically inclined school. An important piece of information for the story is that my golf cart can't go over 25 miles per hour. The speed limit is 20 miles per hour in my neighborhood, and I can't tell what speed I'm going at because a golf cart doesn't need a speedometer, a device that tells you what speed you're going at. The setup, it was during June and was a nice day driving my golf cart. I turned the corner, which led to a little straight, before another turn, and that's where I first saw them. Karen. They were there with their black dog and were talking to somebody when they tried to, for some unknown reason, step with their dog in front of my cart. Luckily, I was paying attention and swerved out of the way. I was unable to comprehend what just happened. I later went home and told my mom what happened, and she got pissed. The full event happened in early July. I was yet again driving my golf cart in my neighborhood when I saw Karen again. I waved respectfully to Karen, though yelled at me to slow down. Karen yelled that I was too young to drive a golf cart and that I should get my mommy so she could talk to her about me not being supervised. The compliance was about to commence. I did get my mommy, who happened to be a cath nurse that treats cardiovascular diseases and does cardiac surgeries every day. My mom was red with anger when I called her in front of my house and yelled into the phone when I mentioned that Karen even tried to talk to me. My mom got out there fast and told me to move to the passenger seat as she booked it to where the Karen was. This is how the conversation went. Karen said, "I had no idea it was you." Me. "I expected you to be driving like a maniac as you do." Mom says, "Is she the one you mentioned?" I say, "Yes, Mom." Karen says, "So you're this maniac's mom. How dare you allow your young daughter to drive a car?" She says, 1, she's 15 years old. 2, how dare you yell at my daughter? And 3, it's a golf cart. She says, she literally almost ran into my friend. Mom says, "Is this true?" I say, "No." Karen says, "You're easily raising a liar and a stupid daughter." Mom says, "My daughter goes to important school and is not at all stupid. Also, get your dog away from me." Karen says, "They're friendly and don't bite." Mom says, "I don't care. I see many instances in the hospital where I see many people bitten by dogs who don't bite." Karen says, "What type of nurse?" Mom says, "None of your business." Karen went on about how I was a brat and my mom somehow became madder at her. My mom kept calm, though it was Karen mentioning my height that set my mom off. My mom went into a loud tirade about how Karen shouldn't mention my height since it is indeed a thing I'm uncomfortable about. The entire neighborhood heard of what she did. Fallout, Karen is now shunned by the neighborhood that she's lived in for 18 years. The lesson is to not mess with a mom who wakes up at 4:30 a.m. to work and who is an amazing parent. Sorry for the long post. Thank you for reading. Not gonna lie, that very last detail OP mentioned, where they live in this neighborhood for 18 years, not really a surprise. For some reason, the more Karen-y a person is, or the worse they are, the longer they seem to want to stick around. I guess it's that sense of entitlement, but it seems to me like whenever a Karen settles down in a place, they want to entrench themselves right then and there, and you and your insert whatever insult you want are not going to get rid of me. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. Now, if you want to hear another absolutely awesome compliance story, check out that video on the left. Or if you missed my latest video, check out the video on the right. That said, I'll see you all next time with some more stories.